real is Mr. Robot? We're about to find out on the next Science Goes to the Movies. Welcome to Science Goes to the Movies, a look at the stories of science and how they change our culture. I'm Faith Saley. Today we're going to talk about USA's hit show, Mr. Robot. And we're delighted to have Rosario Gennaro, director of the Center for Algorithms and Interactive Scientific Software, return to the show to talk about real and fictional cybersecurity. Rosario, thank you for coming back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
In Mr. Robot, Rami Malek, who just won an Emmy, plays Elliot, a young cybersecurity programmer and mastermind hacker who is either saving or destroying the world.
What are you talking about?
The single biggest incident of wealth redistribution in history.
So, Rosario, your research focuses on cryptology and cyber network security. How real is the fictional hacking in Mr. Robot?
It's pretty real. Unfortunately, it's pretty real. There is a lot of hacking happening today, which is very similar to what happened in the show. People penetrating companies and infecting their systems with malware and viruses that causes the system to malfunction. That could be something like a denial of service attack in which the server stops responding, and so you're trying to reach a particular resource on the net, and that resource becomes unavailable. Or it could be something even more serious, as penetrating the system and leaking all the data and all the files that are stored on the system to the outside world, or destroying, erasing those files.
And this hacking is happening more and more.
It's happening on a routine basis around the world, with targeting that could be related to industrial espionage, to, as we know, politically motivated actions, to even from nation states.
So the hacking that we see on Mr. Robot is real. What about the characters? Are computer scientists that nuts?
No. So that's actually one of the beefs that I have with the show.
Okay.
Everybody seems to have some sort of mental instability going on, mental problem going on. To be a brilliant computer scientist, to be a brilliant hacker, particularly with the cybersecurity, you don't have to be mentally unstable, no. But it makes for great TV, it makes for great drama, and I understand why they're doing it. It's just that it's a little bit stereotypical in some ways. And
why do we have that stereotype, though? Why do we think that somebody whose mind is brilliant enough to be able to program and then hack has to be crazy? Is it because hacking is evil?
It's intense. No. Hacking is not evil per se. I think it's intense. It's something that requires a lot of focus, something that requires, like I said, like a single-minded kind of dedication to it. And so,
can you explain what that kind of focus looks like? Because for the purposes of TV or movies, the drama is somebody typing furiously, urgently.
Right.
But does it take a long time to hack?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to hack. Yes, it does. But it all depends what kind of bug you find. So it takes a lot of time to analyze code to figure out where the bug is. It takes a lot of time to try and test different strategies to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work.
And is that a solitary pursuit?
Not necessarily, no. You see, for example, in Mr. Robot, the team, Mr. Robot's team, the F Society, they're a group and they work together. Before I joined CUNY, I was working at IBM and IBM Research, and there was the so-called team of ethical hackers.
Team of ethical hackers?
Yeah,
okay.
Which were basically hired by company to test their defense systems. So they were hackers, they were trying to break into the company, but what they were doing in order to make sure that all the defense systems were in place and working as assumed to be working.
So I love that phrase. I can imagine a kid saying, "I want to be an ethical hacker."
It's a great job. It's a wonderful job. But So, and it's something that you do together, but it's something also that require, but it's not just hacking, in general, coding. It's something that can sort of grab you and keep you there. You know, like there was an episode in Mr. Robot where he talks about debugging. I don't program much anymore. My students do that for me these days. But I remember when I was programming that I could not let go of my program because there were bugs and I had to find the bugs. And you sort of like it's become sort of almost like a game of it's sort of like you find a bug and then you find another bug and you don't want to let go until you're done and you're sort of stuck in it. So that kind of focus and that kind of like dedication to it can be mistaken from the outside as you are like just a little bit off, and that's all you care, and that's, you know,
passion.
It's
it is
passion, but it's a passion that is somehow so inward,
yeah,
you know, that it doesn't come out as enthusiasm and joy outside, and so you start thinking these people are a little crazy.
Yeah, it's not performative.
Right,
it's,
right.
Your audience is you and the computer.
Right, exactly, and maybe your other couple of people in your team, and so yeah, so that can give that impression out there, and that you're crazy a little bit.
So you're a fan of Mr. Robot. Is that basically, as you called it, your only beef? Is that computer scientists aren't that crazy, but the rest of it is pretty darn realistic?
Yes.
You know, I heard, in the name of realism, I heard that Mr. Robot has an art department, an animation department that makes sure that whatever an actor types up on the computer screen is something that makes sense to a computer programmer if
right.
he or she is watching the show.
Right, yeah.
And a lot of what we're seeing is Linux box? Linux, thank you.
Yeah.
What is a Linux box?
So a Linux box is a computer that runs an operating system which is called Linux. The operating system is the bones of the functioning of your computer, is what makes the computer run, and then you can sort of run applications on top. And so the operating system decides what application is running, what sort of allocated resources on your computer, and the most common operating system these days is Windows.
Yep.
But
and then of course there's Mac OS.
And there's Mac OS and so on. But Mac OS is actually based on Linux. Mac OS is just almost like a graphic user interface on top of a Unix, Linux kind of operating system.
So what makes Linux different?
Linux is very popular because it's what we call an open source project. The code is available. Everybody can look at the code of Linux and try to figure out what's going on there, as opposed to Microsoft Windows, where the code is proprietary and we don't know how. I mean, we do know how it works, but we don't see the code, and that means that if there is a bug, we don't know where the bug is, we have to rely on Microsoft to fix it, and so on. With Linux, because this is a collaboratively developed code base.
Like a wiki code base.
It's basically a wiki code base that people develop together, and everybody can look at. There is this sort of sense that because we all know what's going on in the code, that we can have a better sense of where the vulnerabilities are, how to fix them, and how to make them and how to make the system more secure. So Linux has become more and more popular as a way of making sure that your system is somewhat more stable. At the same time, you also have that is not foolproof. A couple of years ago, we had the famous Heartbleed bug that would reveal all your keys and all your secrets out in the open, and that was due to a careless coding of a crucial part.
I think I personally have that bug because I tell everybody everything.
Well, I'm sure that's exactly what he did.
And the hackers on the show communicate using something called an IRC?
IRC.
What is that?
Oh, IRC is prehistory.
It's prehistory?
It's so IRC stands for Internet Relay Chat, and those were among the first chat rooms that were developed over the internet. Back when the internet was a small network of academic and military sites, because that's how the internet started.
What decade is this?
late 80s, early 90s.
This is when Al Gore invented it, right?
Right, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Al Gore is the founder of the IRC. So I remember, I started grad school in 1990. I remember logging into IRC. There was no AIM messenger. There was no Yahoo. There was nothing. There was just my little terminal box, which was a unique box at that time. And I would log into IRC server, and most of the IRC chat rooms were technical chat rooms in which people talk about hacking. But there were chat rooms also about anything. At that time I was also, just to put a little personal story there, I was coming out. I was at 20 something, and there was a chat room for gay people, and it was the one place where I started,
Wow.
chatting with other gay men, because I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
So it was the first chat room of the internet, and it's sort of survived to today, and is now at this point is mostly used by techies because they're still attached to it, because that was the place where they were communicating at the beginning.
Back in 1990, when you were on an IRC channel
Right.
coming out, what was your username? Was it
Oh my God, I don't
hot
remember.
Italian guy?
No,
What was it?
no. I wish. I actually don't even remember. But I actually met my first date that way. So,
Really?
yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
this is like
Oh my God!
Match.com.
And then when I heard IRC on the side, I know but to see sort of brought up in the show was kind of funny
Yeah.
for me. Yeah, right. Yeah.
What is an algorithm, and how does it fit into the world of computer coding?
Well, that's a $1 million question. An algorithm is a sequence of steps, elementary computational steps, that you take to go from your input to your output.
That sequence always involves some kind of mathematics?
Yeah, some logical decision.
If I gave someone directions, like here's how you get to the grocery store, that's
exactly,
not an
that's
algorithm?
an algorithm. If I
Okay.
tell my daughter, take money out of my wallet, get out of the door, turn right, turn left, go to the store, ask for this, that's an
Okay.
algorithm. That's the algorithm that gets my daughter to get some money and come back with, some food
Okay.
for dinner. So an algorithm is a sequence of steps, and that will create a beautiful picture on your screen, for example, or a video game, or a way for you to log into your system so that supposedly you're the only person who's allowed to access your email and stuff like that. An algorithm is then translated into a piece of code. So you can think of it as the algorithm designer being the architect or the engineer, and then the programmer being the construction company that builds the house.
Okay.
Right? So there are several ways in which you can go from about the task that you need to perform. So there are many algorithms for solving the algorithm, and the algorithm designer is going to try to find the best algorithm depending what your constraints are. You want the fastest algorithm, you want the algorithm that uses the least memory, the least energy from your machine, the least battery power. Depending what your constraints are, you choose a particular algorithm, and then somebody else, could be the same person, but usually somebody else will turn it into pieces of code that can be run by the machine.
What is the if-then element?
It's a logical condition. Usually in an algorithm, you have to make a choice. So there's usually a piece of code that says, if this particular condition is true, you're going to do this, then you're going to do this, else you're going to do this. So, and that's a choice in which your algorithm then bifurcates into two possible paths, and then so
on, right?
Exactly.
And somebody actually anticipates all of those and so ons, or at some point does it all get computerized?
Well, your algorithm is supposed to be correct for all possible inputs, right? So your algorithm should be able to take a input and run on any input and give you the result on any input. So at some point, all of that the choices will be all there in your algorithms to make sure that you get your result.
In season 1 of Mr. Robot, Elliot and his sister Darlene insert code into E Corp's banking division using malicious code that is known as ransomware. What is ransomware and how prevalent is it?
It's pretty prevalent. It's pretty bad. And actually, let me tell you another little personal story. I got my physical last week. I made my doctor appointment. I walk into my doctor's office, and he's at the desk, at the front desk, and he looks up and he says, how funny that the encryption guy is coming in right at the time in which my office computer has been ransomware. And I walk up to him, and he shows me the screen of his office, front desk computer, and there's this big sign that says, all your files have been encrypted. If you want your files back, go to this site and follow the instructions there. So ransomware is a piece of code which you unwittingly download onto your machine by maybe visiting an infected website or by opening an attachment to your email. And this piece of code will encrypt all your files.
And encrypt means lock you out.
Lock you out.
Okay.
Your files are not going to be understandable or usable to you anymore unless you have the key to decrypt them. And then at that point, usually the instruction is pay this much money and you'll get the key to decrypt it.
In the second season of Mr. Robot, Darlene and F Society hack into the smart applications in the home of one of E-Corp's top executives. They blast the stereo, mess with the lighting and temperature, and in the show it's all kind of business as usual for them. But in real life, this jump from all digital hack to malicious code that changes real-world machinery is huge. And it's the subject of Alex Gibney's documentary, 0 Days.
You've been focusing on Stuxnet, but that was just part of a much larger mission.
In the movie, Eric Sheehan of Symantec says malware potentially killing people was a Hollywood-esque plot to us. Is Stuxnet virus capable of reaching through the internet and killing people?
Well, I mean, first of all, for the members of the audience who don't know, the Stuxnet virus was the virus that was unleashed on the Iranian nuclear facilities and slowed them down substantially because they made their centrifuges malfunction. So can a virus like Stuxnet travel through the internet and do damage, potentially killing people? Yes, definitely. A virus like that could infect an hospital system and make some of the hospital equipment malfunction if that hospital equipment is connected and controlled via a network, definitely. If we're going to have our home wired and connected to everything connected to the internet with smart appliances, with the so-called Internet of Things, would a virus be able to make things malfunction and cause a gas leak or a water explosion? Possibly. If there are bugs that can be exploited to that extent, yes, that is not something that should be ruled out. Do I want to scare people and terrify people? No. I mean, we are not there yet, particularly with smart homes and stuff like that. But we will get there. We will get there, and the goal is to get there in a safe way, in which safeguards are in place to prevent that kind of malware to come in, and if it does come in, to prevent, for like large damage or loss of life and stuff like that. But it is not theoretically or conceptually not out of reality. Possible, definitely a realistic scenario.
Everything you're saying makes me think those survivalists who have cabins in the woods with
Right.
like money under their mattresses and canned goods are not so crazy.
Well, on the weekends I go to a place that has no internet, no cell phone reception, and we have a landline that is not even good enough for DSL, so we don't even have internet. And sometimes I wonder about. I mean, for me it's a welcome disconnection.
Liberating.
But it's also sort of, I do wonder about all the benefits of the kind of technology that we have today, but also the costs associated with it, for sure.
In the first season of Mr. Robot, E-Corp is so secure that the hackers have to physically insert something into their network to bring it down. We see the same thing in 0 Days. In 0 Days, they call it an air gap or an air wall. What is the difference between a firewall and an air wall?
Right. So a firewall, so we were talking about before how you can get your computer completely airtight by disconnecting it from the network. So if you disconnect your system from the network, then you're creating what we call an air wall, an air gap. If you want to access that particular system, you need to be physically inserting like a USB drive or a CD or something on that network. But if your computer is connected to the internet, to a network, not necessarily the internet, then a firewall is a device that you put at the point of entry between your system and the outside network. And that firewall is supposed to analyze traffic and prevent, hopefully, bad traffic from coming in. So it is only going to allow certain kind of connections, it's only going to allow certain kind of messages and so on. And authorize or deny certain kind of access. So that's what a firewall is. And it's based on software that analyzes the traffic and makes a decision. But there is the possibility that your firewall is going to let a damaging connection through. So for very, very secure systems, you completely isolate them.
Have an air wall.
And then you have an air wall.
There's this point that's made repeatedly in 0 Days, which is that 2010 and Stuxnet changed code in the same way that 1945 and the nuclear bomb changed warfare. What does that mean?
The release of the Stuxnet network really signaled to the world the arrival of a new kind of warfare. Now we're not fighting anymore only on the battlefield, but we are going to go after you electronically. And we can do that by damaging your weapon productions, which is exactly what happened in Iran. But we can also probably damage your supply lines, your support system, and so on. Your hospitals. So in that sense, the comparison to 1945 is pretty accurate. In 1945, we showed the world that we had a new way of bombing and attacking and obliterate your enemy. And so we are. So the only, I would say that maybe the only difference would be that we have been aware of the possibility of doing this. So like electronic warfare was a known concept before Stuxnet. It's just that Stuxnet really showed us that it's actually possible.
Real and potent.
And public.
But with so many myriad possibilities for attack, will cyber defense always lag behind cyber offense?
It's a little bit of an arms race, for sure. So we're playing catch up a lot of the times. There's a bug we're trying to figure out how to react to that. There's also another thing that you can do, which is to be prepared. A lot of the work in encryption is designed to really prevent a lot of damage. So when the attack is successful, if somebody's coming into my system to find my emails, and release them to the public, maybe I can prevent them from penetrating my system because my system, there's a bug in the operating system, but I can encrypt my files, and they can come in, and if my files are encrypted, they won't be able to.
They're just banging on the door.
Yeah, there's no damage, right? So, and the big question is how to do that so that even if my files are encrypted on my system, I can still get the full utility and the full access and the full, without having to burden my system with added complexity. So can my data exist encrypted on my system or even on the cloud, which is what a lot of businesses are doing right now. They're not maintaining their own computer system. They're paying IBM, Microsoft, Google to keep all their data on their servers. Can I keep my data somewhere? It doesn't matter if it's my system or the cloud, encrypted so that it's protected from unauthorized access, which I can't really control if it's in operating system buggy kind of issue, and yet not having to pay too much complexity in accessing and do whatever I usually do with my data. So that's really a big area of work, not just research, because a lot of it is already happening, but also, so that's where the focus of people like me who work on encryption is. Rather than playing catch up, or there's a bug, let's put a patch, let's try to kick everybody out. Let's try to do something so that even if people come in, the damage is limited, the damage is contained, and the exposure is somehow
the analogies to
mitigated.
all other parts of science are similar. It's like fighting Zika, right?
Right.
Let's figure out what kind of vaccine or
exactly.
What kind of,
Exactly. Can we do?
Let's get ahead of it.
Can you do both?
Yeah.
Can we do reaction but also prevention?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rosario, thank you for coming back to unlock more enlightenment for us.
Thank you for having me.
Whatever we can't fit into this half hour, we'll share on our Science Goes to the Movies Facebook page. And if you want to watch past episodes, please check us out at www.cuny.tv under the Science tab. Or download our app to keep up with all the Science Goes to the Movies in one place.